well, I mean, I guess there is a personality type out there that is that aggressive. And I thought, well, I guess I've got a wild lion on my hands here, but not a problem. You know, I'll bite him in the nose, whatever. I mean, I don't care. I wasn't worried. I wasn't even thinking that this could even, develop into a problem. Even after he jumped on me, I was like, I mean, it's not like he crushed me or anything. I couldn't breathe. It was a big deal. So somehow I was able to get my legs underneath him, and I pushed him really hard, and he went flying off the bed, and I said no. And then somehow he got on top of me again, and I was in my robe, and he grabbed the leg and he threw it up, and he grabbed one leg and he threw it up over my head, and well, you really can't push your leg down when somebody lifts it like that, and he's heavy. And then he went to grab the other leg, and I remember I was somehow pinned a little bit, but I was pushing him off, and I was trying to wriggle my way out from underneath him. Still, I wasn't afraid at all. I mean, I was like, I thought, it was just evident that I needed to be more aggressive with him about the fact that this was something I wasn't interested in. And somehow he got my other leg. But I'm talking way over the back of I've never had my leg pushed back that far for anything, And he got the other leg. I mean, I remember it was so far, my arch backed up. When he pushed me back that far, my back arched up, and I'd never been in that position before anyway. I mean, it wasn't even a position, it's not like we were having sex, but his pants were down, and he got my other leg. And then the other leg was behind my ears, and my ass is fucking up in the air with the robe is just separated. And he spit on my anus, and I pushed him, and with my hands, I got my hands, and I pushed him, and I said, no. I said, what the fuck are you doing? I said, and then I remember exactly what I said, my exact words. I said, we're not two 17-year-olds in a fucking locker room. I said, have a little couth, what the fuck is wrong with you, or something like that. And I pushed him, and then I got out from under him. And I just got up to shake it off, like, fuck off. And I was mad at that point. And I was walking away from it. I went to the other room. And he picked me, he threw me on the other bed. And I jumped off onto the other side. And it's like, fuck this. I was like, you need to get, I said, why don't you call me when you're off fucking shift in the morning, and we'll go for breakfast, if you want. And then I walked out of the room, and I ran by him really fast somehow, and I came into the other room, and he jumped on me again. And then this time I noticed that he was fully erect. I mean, because I could feel him on me. And before, even though his pants were down, when he was, I guess I could feel penis on my leg and stuff a little bit while I was, little here and there, some penis, but, this time I felt, I knew he was, like, erect, and it seemed like, that's when all of a sudden I wasn't a light bulb, but I wasn't afraid still. I still wasn't afraid, because alright, now I've got a big boy with a heart on, and he seems to have a pretty serious male ego, motherfucker, right? And I'm thinking, alright, cool. So he thinks he's fucking tough, huh? So, fuck you, man. I mean, think I felt, also, I think very fast. It's like so many things to go through your head so fast. I think I even felt the sense of loss. Nothing really happened that I would need therapy for or anything at that point, but I was disappointed that it appeared there was something wrong with somebody that was so delightful. And that instantly bothered me. I didn't really recollect that until now, but I remember thinking to myself, what a shame that this guy is a little bit nicer. I mean, if he was a little bit nicer, then maybe in a couple of weeks we could be dating or something, but I thought, I mean, I already hated being single. And we were sitting on the couch, and I asked him, he said that he'd been single for a couple of years. I remember my exact words now. I said, are you happy being single? And he said, no. So inside, I guess I am. The way he'd been looking at me, like downstairs and stuff, I thought, boy, I mean, this could be perfect. I mean, honestly. And then this mess, already a mess. I'm thinking, God, I was in an abusive relationship for 12 years. He never sexually abused me, never. And we never had any sexual violence. The only time I was ever forced to have sex really was when I was 19 by a cop that offered me a ride home. But it was oral sex. It wasn't, I was in the Air Force and I was home on vacation. He had a wedding ring on too. I thought it was pretty funny. He was handsome as all get out, the cop was, but I thought he could have asked me what else to be so forceful for. I mean, it wasn't. I mean, I might have, high moral standards for a gay man, and I don't like to make too many generalities. Only when I'm joking do I like to make generalities, but I've never been around gay people, really. I grew up in a straight world, and my businesses were all very male-oriented, but super, like, overcompensating, egocentric male pigs. I mean, I controlled giants or men that thought they were giants, and I mandated compliance. I was a real tough guy in that regard. I mean, there was no wavering from the standard or deviating from the mission. I was tough as fuck. That's why, in commercial fishing globally, my nickname was Tom the Terminator. I was very highly respected, and I was very quick to eliminate bad seeds from our environment. And I responded to the needs of, like, even a rape victim that was a friend of mine that was on a boat. I worked her through that. I felt bad for her. But I also warned her before she went. And, Russian boats are different than the U.S. boats even. I had a friend that was killed on a fishing boat too. Scott McBurney. He was a delightful human being. He played concert piano, but he was just, whoa, unreal. But he had a problem. He liked to date everybody else's girlfriend instead of finding one for himself or somebody's wife. It was his thing. I mean, that was what his motives were all the time. They found him dead. But he had sex with the captain's girlfriend. And they beat him. And then they found him drowned in 6 inches of fish slime in a live tank. But he said he slipped on a ladder and he was going into cleaners, but he was in quality control. He wasn't going to cleaners or fish count, whatever. I went to the morgue to look at his body. He had so many contusions and broken bones and stuff that it looked like he'd been beaten with a metal rod for quite a long time. So I'm sure they threw him in the tank unconscious, but anyways, I was underneath Marcus, and I hate to even say his name, first name now, I don't know why. That name, I always thought that was a very handsome name. You know, like Chase or Chance or Marcus. It seems, Marcus to me seems so almost Roman, you know. And he was very German, I mean, he was, but handsome as fuck. But not handsome anymore. I mean, it wasn't handsome when this was going on. Yeah. My legs ended up behind my head again. And this time, I was completely bent. And this is after I told you that I don't know where I felt his penis erect, but it was big and it was erect and it was not evident, but the W Hotel is fancy and they have the beds well dressed. They have hard pillows from when you're sitting watching TV and soft pillows and all kinds of pillows. And a hard pillow hit my face very hard. But it didn't hit my face like I was getting hit by a pillow. It hit my face like it was aimed for my throat, and it actually forced my mouth open. And I don't think he said, "Be quiet." And I said, I was screaming no. But I don't know how long it took, but he was very swift. And he had already spit on my anus, but he had something on his penis, and it wasn't a condom, his stuff. Yeah, lube. Or, I don't know, but the pillow was over my mouth, and a lot of force. I would say about maybe 60 foot-pounds of force. It was hard. I mean, he had a security over my mouth. And, thinking back, I hadn't thought of this before either. It wasn't that I couldn't breathe, because I could breathe, I was screaming, but I was yelling no, like a fucking gnat. I was yelling all kinds of shit, but he wasn't inside me, that wasn't gonna happen, but at this point I was so pinned. And then once that pillow was on my mouth, it felt like it was almost down my throat, but it wasn't. I mean, it was a thick, one of those pillows that doesn't even bend that much. But I'd never had one on my open mouth screaming shit, probably asshole fucking crap stuff, like, whatever. I mean, I'd already said no so many times anyway. you know, at least a dozen. And so I wasn't in control of anything, except for screaming. But by the time the legs were behind my head again, which put my ass in the air, and that pillow was in my mouth, it seemed like a whole lot went on, but I wasn't moving. And so it was probably only 3 seconds and he was fully penetrated. And so, as soon as I felt him inside me, well, the pain, he was a big man. And, I have never in my life submitted to a man for anal intercourse, ever, that I wasn't in a relationship with, or dating or moving toward being in a relationship. But I can't even remember. So, he fucked hard, he fucked fast, but he fucked securely. There was no chance he was gonna come out. He made sure that he was in, and I couldn't see him. He was pushing so hard on the pillow that it was still forced completely over my mouth. And at that point I was screaming as loud as I could, but I was just screaming then. I wasn't screaming with words. I was screaming. And screaming. And I could only hear it inside my head. It was so loud. But it wasn't audible externally. I knew I was screaming as loud as I could, and I knew I couldn't be heard. And I didn't submit to the act during the act either. I was screaming the whole time. But it didn't take him very long to be satisfied because, he was enjoying the screaming, I believe. It was evident by his motions and by his actions, and by the thickness of his penis and the hardness of his penis inside me. During this episode, he continually got more excited until he came in my ass, unprotected, without my permission, after I fought him off and told him no for a dozen times, and explained myself quite clearly. And when it was over, when he pulled right out, pulled his pants up, started getting dressed and pillows off my head, my legs went down. I have never had my legs back like that for sex. I just don't, it's not comfortable, it's not pleasurable, and it's just not how you have sex. So I put my legs down, and he was getting dressed, and I laid down. And I remember tasting the blood on my lips still. It was still bleeding. And I'm not a bleeder, I stopped bleeding very quickly. That motherfucker bit me. I had a scab for a couple of days. I haven't recalled this since March 8th when I wrote the stuff up about it. I was trying to write about the experience. And to tell you the truth, now that I'm talking to you about it, all I remember is the screaming. And then I remember being happy that he was off me and And my legs felt so good putting them down on the bed. And then the pain had subsided. And he walked out of the room. I laid there. And I don't know what happened. I mean, I don't know how long. He was out fast, real fast, but he said he threw a card down. You know, I don't know. He said, I threw a card down out there in the living room, if you want to call me, and I don't. I know it was fast that he was out, but I don't know why I didn't say anything then. I was glad that it was over, but I think that I was, I don't know what I was. Have you ever heard of that before? I've not.
No, it happens.
I mean, why didn't I jump up then and like try to punch him and stuff? I mean,
shock. You're traumatized. You froze up. That's what happens.
I'm really bad. I didn't do anything then. Now I'm actually pretty bad at doing something. Why did I just lay there? And let him walk out and close the door? Why didn't I get up and jump on him when I go to start punching him? I'm a man, I don't get treated like that. How come I didn't do that? I wasn't starting to think that it was my fault or anything at that point. I wasn't thinking, but I'm really mad at myself right now. I should have gone up and grabbed the fucking lamp and hit him with it. You know, or something. There's a lot of furniture in that place. You could grab all kinds of stuff. I should have fucking tried to kill him. What a jerk.
You can't second guess yourself.
I hadn't thought about it. So, before all this happened, I think I called downstairs and tried to talk to Caleb because I wanted to find out what he felt, what his opinion was of him. So somewhere along the line, maybe it was before I went up and I had a moment or something, but I asked Caleb about him, and because I knew I was interested for sure, and I love Caleb. He's a delightful human being. And I always joke with him then, the fact that I have a medical spa and all these laser machines and stuff when I get around to using them. I said, by the time I look 18, you'll not be able to resist me. I was joking. Yeah. I know that I think that I always went to Caleb every time I went into the hotel because he was such a delightful human being, but I liked hearing how much his partner loves him and like makes him a sandwich for his lunch, puts little messages in it, looking at him smile about it, you know. And I've told him, I said, I'm so happy that you're happy. But it's sort of like, I guess maybe it's just to wish that I had, a piece of peace like that. But anyways, Marcus mentioned he had seen me many times, and I apologized to him earlier that I hadn't really noticed him, and then maybe I had, but I didn't. So So essentially he was bringing up the fact that I'm friends with everybody in the hotel and I acknowledge everybody in the hotel, but I don't acknowledge him. That maybe is an interesting thing. I don't know. For me anyway, or for how this came about. I don't really know what his motivation was. It wasn't, I mean, men don't do that to get off. Men do that to, I don't know men that do that, but I do now, I guess. I just, when I talked to the lawyer, I don't know if you know Mr. Stewart. You know?
No, our first meeting was when he called me.
So you haven't met him in person? He's a very cheery guy. He's a very positive man. And we talked about this, and he said, and we talked about his children. I asked him about his children. I ask everybody about their children. And he said, I said, I bet your children know how not to be groomed and get themselves into, or how to protect themselves. He said, oh yeah. He said, since they were very little, he said, I've been in this industry protecting rights of people who are victimized as sexual victims. He said, both my kids, no. I said, good for them. And I said, maybe, you know, when I have control of my emotions, maybe there's some benefit here when I can, like, actually speak to this to an appropriate age group, you know, of young girls, and I guess boys, not young, like, I don't think this stuff like this is appropriate for children, but, you know, I'd say that, you know, 14 plus maybe, to, if parents wanted them to, not hear the gruesome details, but to understand that, you know, no means no, but you only have to say it once, and if it seems, or if it appears as though, you know, somebody's making you say no twice, then you need to get to a safe place, you know, because by the time you've said it 12 times, you're just fooling yourself, you know, and I think that that's, you know, maybe that's something that I can do. Also with I like to spend my time doing positive things, productive things, you know. And, you know, maybe that would be a good thing for young girls and young boys to hear. Or even old men, or the army guys, the 30% of the army men that are not just army, but all military. 30% of the rapes in the military being men to men. You know, I mean, if the man-to-man way that it happened with me and Marcus, I'm a man, and I said no, and so my no has always meant fucking no. And it always has meant to me that, you know, professionally, if somebody says no to me, I just don't talk to them about it anymore. I go straight around them and show them how it's done, and ignore them in perpetuity because they're irrelevant if they're not part of the mission. So, I'm really sad. I'm sad about the fact that he turned out to be such a bad man. Because if he was a real man, he would be a perfect person. You know, I mean, the combination of his height and his just incredible looks. Now all I see is ugliness. But that's it.
So Thomas, so I need to go back and ask you a few questions about what you explained already when you told me your story. Help me understand more about the apartment situation. You said you were trying to move into an apartment complex. Is that what was happening, and you were having credit issues, or they were saying that you had credit issues?
Yeah, it's the worst thing that's ever happened to me.
Which apartment complex was this?
Monterone Apartments on 4500 Steiner Ridge Boulevard.
4500 Steiner Ranch?
Yeah.
So, so you couldn't get into an apartment there because of, they're saying because of your credit issues, and so you were going from hotel to hotel basically? Is that-
They're involved in a full-blown conspiracy to take my spot from me. And I'm not a paranoid person, but the community has come to me now. And I have all of the evidence that I need. It was done constructively and on purpose against me. And it is criminal, what they've done. I invested way over $1 million in that community. And the girls from the leasing office downstairs, especially the manager, Jennifer, they were okay. They were very positive in working towards the success of the spa, the leasing company, because I did an extravagant build out of 5,000 square feet of that building. Hundreds of thousands of dollars. The most beautiful tiles. And my artwork for my personal collections there. I commissioned $1.7 million worth of artwork for the best artists in North America to make it the largest and best gallery in Texas. And that's going to be happening in the next month, supposedly. Well, I mean, the artwork is coming, and they're trying to take the place from me. But what happened is that I took over on July 17th of last year from my partners and asked them to leave and gave them a bunch of money, and we signed a contract. No disparaging comments and everything else. One of the people, well, it was all my money, but it was my best friend's wife, and she picked a partner. The partner that she picked lived in the Monterone community, and the 500 apartments